Top 5 Ways to Put Your Baby to Sleep at Night. Number 1. Start a routine. One of the ways a baby learns it's time to go to sleep is from cues in the environment, notes Deborah Given, MD, Director of the Sleep Disorders Center at Riley Hospital for Children, in Indianapolis. About 30 minutes before bedtime, turn the noise down and dim the lights. The right lighting is essential because it helps set a baby's internal clock, she explains. Our brain associates light and dark with being awake or asleep. Turning the lights low at night, and exposing your baby to bright light in the a.m. will help this process along. When do babies sleep through the night? Once you minimize the stimuli, you can introduce other calming rituals, like a warm bath, lullabies, or softly spoken stories. Dr. Given recommends having the nighttime ritual in place as soon as possible, and ideally by about 6 to 8 weeks. Be consistent, do the activities in the same order every night, so your baby learns what to expect. Number 2. Don't rely on soothing methods. If you put your baby in the crib when they're already asleep and they wake up in the night, which all humans do, they won't recognize their surroundings and will need your help getting back to sleep, notes Dr. Given. Try to put your baby down drowsy but awake. This will help them learn to self-soothe and fall asleep, and, more importantly, fall back to sleep, on their own, which is the main goal of sleep training. Adrienne Porzio of Centerport, New York, can attest to this. She began driving her newborn around at night to get her to fall asleep, and she was still relying on that crutch when her daughter was 5 months old. The issue we get the most calls about is parents automatically repeating soothing habits to the point that the baby is hooked, says Los Angeles sleep consultant Heather Turgeon, co-author of The Happy Sleeper. Newborns benefit from rocking, bouncing, and soothing to sleep, but babies develop quickly and don't need those things forever. Most babies have the capability to fall asleep on their own, and if we're still doing it for them, we're getting in their way, says Turgeon. Start practicing in the early months to put baby down awake, at least once a day. Usually the first nap is the most successful. Keep your cuddle time, but gradually stop the patting and shushing and rocking to sleep. 3. Don't feed baby to sleep. Newborns fall asleep all the time while eating, and I don't want anyone to stress about that, notes Turgeon. But if your baby often dozes off during a feeding, they'll think they need to eat in order to get back to sleep. To combat this issue, gradually move the feeding earlier until your little one can get through it, then finish the routine with a calming book and song, and tuck them in drowsy but awake. You may still need to get up for a nighttime. Number 4. Stick to an early bedtime. When considering how to put a baby to sleep, timing is just as important as a routine. At around 8 weeks, babies have a rise in melatonin, a drowsy-making hormone the body releases when it's time for sleep, which means they're ready for an early bedtime consistent with the sun setting, says Turgeon. If you keep them up late instead, they become overstimulated and harder to put down. Melatonin levels rise somewhere around sundown, but given that sundown can be any time from 4:30 in winter to 8:30 in summer, stick to the clock and put your baby down around 6:30 or 7 p.m. for the most success. If the sun is still up, close the shades. A good sign of drowsiness is when the baby becomes calm, they're less active, have a bored look, or just stare off, says Turgeon. Don't mistake this behavior as happiness for being awake. Seize the moment and start your bedtime routine. The baby's internal clock is telling them when to be awake and when to be asleep, and you want to reinforce that, she notes. Number 5. Eliminate snacking. Sleep and nutrition go hand in hand, notes Brewer. For the first 8 weeks, a baby should be feeding on demand every 2 to 2.5 hours. If they want to eat every hour or so, they may not be consuming enough at each session, says Brewer. Keep a 24-hour log of how many ounces a bottle-fed baby takes and at what time. For a breastfed baby, write down how many minutes they're nursing each session. If they eat for 20 minutes during the nighttime feeding but only 5 or 10 minutes during the day, they're just snacking, says Brewer. and they're not filling their belly enough to sleep through the night. On the flip side, if baby is eating well during the day, they should be able to sleep for a 4 to 6 hour stretch at night by around 2.5 to 3 months. To help your baby eat more efficiently, work towards spacing out their meals, distract them with a pacifier or some entertainment, so they're actually hungry each time. Also, don't neglect burping. Sometimes we mistake coming off the breast or bottle as being finished, when really the baby needs to be burped, notes Brewer. Bright lights or noise can also be distracting. Try feeding baby in a darker, quiet room, especially when they become more interested in their surroundings.